Presuppositions. If you don't know what that word means, go and look it up now, because we're going to be talking about that a lot tonight. It's going to be the maypole around which we dance. So I've just come off a 6-hour stint scripting a video, followed by 1 hour's worth of recording, which will probably then translate into half an hour video, maybe, which I'm going to be making for the rest of the week. Potentially new video Saturday, maybe, possibly. But after doing the writing and the recording, I decided to sit down and have my dinner and listen to Metal's Forge, which had just come on. And lo and behold, they're talking about Godzilla x Kong. Hooray! I get to listen to some of my favourite streamers talking about a film which I really do not like. It should be fun. I had to turn off, not because of anything they were saying about Godzilla x Kong. They were just ripping the internet and I was having lots of fun. It was the constant questions about what happened previously in the Monsterverse. I understand Godzilla vs. Kong, because apparently Gentle Commander hadn't watched it, so he wasn't understanding what was going on. Especially with GXK, which is a direct follow-on, and they still don't explain anything. GVK didn't explain anything, so yeah. But then he's going back to King of the Monsters. And he's talking about the fact that Godzilla burnt down a city. Is he like that all the time now? What's going on with that? And he's asking lots of other questions, and I'm just getting more and more annoyed, because it's like, how can you watch the fourth... Well, no, it's not the fourth, technically, it's the fifth, with Kong Skull Island as well. How can you be this far into a series of films, and you've not watched films previously, or remember what happened previously, and then come on and start talking about them? And it was just getting me more and more annoyed, and I just went, no, I can't do this, I can't listen to this. But one of the things they brought up, and it's not just Gentle Cum Handler, it's not just EFAP, it's not even like bad film reviewers who just didn't watch the film. It's hardcore Godzilla fans who know most of the histories, who watch all the films, who put tweets out about what is your favourite Godzilla moment, what is this, what do you like about this, and have arguments online about it. Even they don't seem to understand Godzilla in the Monsterverse. It's really, really weird. More often than not, the question is, why is Godzilla killing people? If he's meant to be a hero in the Monsterverse, if he's supposed to be the good guy, why does he keep stamping on people? And then I'm sitting there wondering, how do you not understand this? And I've come to the conclusion, presuppositions. People remember the old films. Some of the old films. I'm going to mention this now quickly. People remember Godzilla being a bad guy or a good guy, and that's about it. They seem to remember Godzilla 1954 and Godzilla vs. Megalon, and despite the fact that they know that there are films in between those films, there's 2 decades worth of Godzilla films in there, but no one ever seems to remember any of them. So they only ever remember Godzilla being a bad guy or a good guy. They don't remember the bit in between where he goes from one to the other. He transitions. There's a bit in the middle. One of my favourites, Godzilla, Son of Godzilla. A childhood favourite. Fond memories. He's such a middle ground character there that he's ripping and tearing apart these giant praying mantises who are trying to eat his child. But he's been really vicious with them. And at the same time, he's just stomping all over the human settlement because fuck them. Who cares? Who cares? I'm going to save my son. I don't really care who gets in my way. And I suppose it's because I remember those films. Those transitional films where he wasn't altogether good, he wasn't altogether bad, and he was more of a mix of one than the other depending on where you were in the series. Because I remember those, I watched the MonsterVerse Godzilla from 2014. I will specify this. From the first film in the MonsterVerse, he wasn't saving people. He wasn't trying to kill them either. But he wasn't trying to save them. He was trying to keep nature balanced. That is the whole thing to do with the MonsterVerse, from the 2014 film to Kong Skull Island to Godzilla King of the Monsters, and then it went straight downhill with Godzilla vs. Kong because fuck that film. The MonsterVerse is about the balance of nature and trying to keep it balanced. And in those films, humanity usually fucks it. In 2014, they did the dwarf thing, they dug too deep, and brought up some monsters. Godzilla comes along to then sort out the monsters. The humans who did the digging, a load of them died. The monsters that came out of the hole they dug killed a load of people. And then Godzilla killed a load of people whilst trying to stop the monsters. People died as a result of what people did. It's not a case of Godzilla's here to sort out people's problems. People need to sort out people's problems. Nature is going to do what it needs to do. And in the MonsterVerse, that is represented by giant fucking monsters. I find it very odd that people don't get that. The monsters, the titans of the MonsterVerse, are meant to be representing nature. Nature doesn't give a shit about you. Nature will drown you, will crush you, will burn you, will suffocate you, to keep things balanced. So too, the monsters will crush you, drown you, and do all sorts of other weird things. Now they can freeze you. They will do whatever they decide to do to you. They will do what they do, and as a side effect, you might die. That is not them being malicious. That is not them being villains. That is them, essentially, doing their job. And if you happen to get in the way of them doing their job, that's your fucking fault. But if you keep out of their way, like we see in the early MonsterVerse films, there's alerts and people are evacuated from the cities as much as they can be, and people avoid the monsters whilst they're doing their thing. People survive and potentially can go back in. Well, I don't think Boston would be habitable for a while. They need to rebuild a lot of that. I imagine a lot of that is flipping melted. Anyway, the monsters aren't trying to kill people, they're trying to kill the bad monsters. Specifically the bad monsters. And monsters aren't just turning up into cities and attacking cities for the hell of it, they're usually there for a reason. In 2014, the Mutos were they were trying to get towards each other, and then the military decided to then lure them even closer together with nuclear bombs, which didn't really go as planned, but yeah. In Godzilla King of the Monsters, you had the terrorists trying to wake up the Titans, which they did, a little bit too effectively. And then they ended up at Fenway in Boston, because they were using the Orca to lure Ghidorah there. So the Titans end up in cities because of various reasons, usually because humans have fucked it somehow, and then Godzilla usually follows in to sort them out, usually destroying stuff, because that's what happens when you have 300-foot tall giant monsters smashing into each other. And all of this is really obvious to me. It's surely this is really understandable. And yet, people, time and time again, but why he hurt man, though? He's not there to save you. I thought I'd better add this on to the end of the bit I've just done, because almost certainly someone is going to say this, And of course, this has already been addressed, but people don't watch the film. But people don't watch the films, apparently. Why don't they kill the Titans? I've heard this said before. I've heard this asked before by people who have watched the films. Fans, apparently, who have watched the films. And then they ask questions like this, and I'm sitting there pulling my beard hair out thinking, they already addressed this. In King of the Monsters, Godzilla is chasing down Ghidorah, and he's got Ghidorah in the water, so Godzilla theoretically has got this one done. But the American military come along and go, don't worry, we've developed this new weapon we reckon is going to kill him. And they use it, kills Godzilla, and doesn't kill Ghidorah. And then they're like, right, how are we going to do this? Because the weapon we developed doesn't work on Ghidorah. And monarchs say, well, Godzilla was really the solution to this sort of stuff, but you've just killed Godzilla, so now we don't have a solution. That is the thing that I'm like, I can't... I say this all the time, Godzilla King of the Monsters always comes up with something good that I haven't thought about before. And the reason I didn't think about this one was because I thought it was bloody obvious. The film states it, basically spells it out for audiences, and yet apparently people just didn't notice it. No wonder they need like bright flashing lights on the screen to keep their attention. Bloody hell. King of the Monsters shows that if you try to kill Godzilla, potentially, and in this case there was, something that you couldn't kill, but Godzilla could. So even if you went with the idea of find all the Titans and oxygen destroyer each and every single one, then there would be no more Titans. Then you wouldn't have to worry about it, then you would kill Godzilla. But as they showed in the film, there's always the chance that something that wouldn't work. And who knows, maybe there would be another one that wouldn't work on, or maybe they would use it on one and then accidentally create Destroyer. But more on point, especially with the films series, well, the early films thematics, this is all about nature. It's all about working with nature, not going overboard in one direction or another. So it's not waking up all the Titans and forcing them to do stuff, which will then create an imbalance. It's not killing them all off, so they're not around to essentially create consequences for human actions. You have to work with them, with the knowledge of them in the world. So you don't do stupid stuff, so you don't cause them to wake up, so you don't cause Godzilla to have fights with them in populated areas. That is meant to be the messaging of these films. It's to work things out, to keep balances, to not go overboard, and to pay attention to the environment. Because if you fuck with the environment will fuck with you. Actually, it's kind of thematically relevant, isn't it? That these films are saying these messages, like there are giant monsters around, we need to be careful. If you're not careful, you might wake them up and cause all sorts of problems. And in the real world, scientists, for years, literally decades, I'm pretty sure they mentioned climate change in Rodan, which was 1956. Scientists, for decades, for nearly 100 years getting on at this rate. No, it's not 170 years. For 70 years at least, they've been talking about climate change. The things that we are doing to make it happen, and the things we need to do to stop it. Eventually, nature is going to fuck us. And there's nothing... and we would have walked straight into it. Trousers round our ankles, bent over, ready to be fucked. And despite the knowledge of that, people are still running straight ahead, right into it. So yeah, really, I shouldn't be surprised that people do not understand that messaging in the Monsterverse, when in the real world, they don't understand that messaging. Okay, I feel a bit happier now, I think I'll stop. Last but not least, thank you for watching. Or listening, in this case. Thank you for listening.